So I would just like to hand over the stage to Bhavna ma'am uh, to go on with our next event, which is the panel discussion. We have extremely eminent personalities who are going to be here giving us direction, giving us insights on traditional literature, who are going to be shaping and helping us rechannelize what we believe. So, Bhavna ma'am, please uh, enlighten with who you are, tell us all about yourself, tell us about the event, and please guide the entire thing. It's your stage. Thank you.
Thank you, Anushri. Thank you so much. And Tejal has given a very sparkling start to the event. Technology being technology. So, starting the day with Milind sir's insights on what literature, what sahitya means, and how books can go ahead and change the impact, change and impact the life in and around us is inevitable. पर क्या tradition or modern poetry, modern way of writing, can that be संगम? महाकुंभ चल रहा है तो संगम का प्रयोग थोड़ा ज्यादा हो जाता है, तो इसलिए क्या ट्रेडिशन और मॉडर्निज्म एक साथ आकर can they bring impactful changes? Can the paradigm shift? Can we break the rules or modify the rules? Can we be rooted and still give the world a better place to read, to write, and to discover themselves? Today's panel discussion would be more on how traditional writing can be used or can be taken as a stepping stone towards writing, towards going ahead in the literature format. What will be the importance of understanding traditional literature, and can tradition be in collision with innovation and modernism to give direction to the modern world? This is Bhavna Mishra, your host for the panel discussion. A discussion with panelists like Mr. Ashish Vakankar, who has been a senior professional holding a leadership position in the financial services, not only coming with 33 years of experiences, but also the founder and director of Equipoise Capital, philanthropist, and amidst all this, he's also the honorable treasurer of Vakankar Archaeological Museum and holds key roles in the NBT, that is the National Book Trust, and the Kohinoor Business School. Master of Streets is what we see him trending in Google and all. And if it is finance, it's difficult to understand. But when it is Mr. Vakankar and his words, it's as smooth as any river flowing through the plain. Mr. Vakankar, I would extend my welcome to you to the panel. Next on our list as a panelist, we have Ms. Shilpi Signodia from Hyderabad, who is not only a versatile author, educator, and an advocate for dyslexia. छोटी छोटी कहानियां, छोटी छोटी poems, academic projects में भी काफी active हैं. She has authored a book named Innocent Wings, and that has set a national record in the India Book of Records 2020 as the first book on dyslexia in India. Another one coming on stage is Mr. Abhishek Talwar. He's a certified ये मेरे से हमेशा हो जाता है, ये environment so difficult to handle कि environmentalist pronounce करने में भी ना लोगों को लगता है कि ये क्या ही pronounce कर रहे हैं, but we have somebody who's a certified environmentalist and author and is known for simplifying complex ideas with engaging narratives. His works, including The Adventures of Biplav, the Bumblebee series, Detective Colonel Zorro Mysteries on Indian History, and Purviam Trilogy, promote values like loyalty and environmental love, and advocate for sustainability. We also have Dr. Dinesh Nair here, who's a renowned researcher in English literature, hails from Mumbai, and that Mumbai brings a big smile because all of us, majority of us are here. And he's celebrated for his in-depth studies in critical analysis. His work primarily explores intersections of culture, philosophy, and literary theory. Now, Mr. Nair also believes in bringing in the modernism in traditional literature. Also have the honor of having Dr. Tajinder Singh Rawal, and he's a celebrated scholar and a poet in the realm of Urdu literature. Renowned for his eloquent ghazals and nazm, he masterfully bridges tradition and modernity. Okay. So, amidst all these honorable people, educationists, philanthropists, this is a normal girl, Bhavna, who strives to go ahead and learn from all these discussions, right starting from Mr. Marathe, the chairman, the chairperson of NBT, वाचन कला, नृत्य कला, हर कला में कितनी खूबसूरती से किताब आती है. और वो कहते हैं ना कि मुझे मेरे कमरे को तुम जब आओगी तो खोया हुआ पाओगी, मुझे मेरी तन्हाई में ख्वाबों के सिवा कुछ भी नहीं. मेरे कमरे को सजाने की तमन्ना है तुम्हें, मेरे कमरे में किताबों के सिवा कुछ भी नहीं. जब जॉन ने कहा किताबों के सिवा कुछ भी नहीं तो लगा कि किताबें. But when you want to be a literary scientist, when you want to be a good author, it is always said that, think before you speak before you think. And I would go ahead and extend this, that write when you have thought, you have spoken, and you have read thoroughly. With that, I would like to start my discussion with what exactly, how important is innovation and tradition in modern literature. Starting with Dr. Dinesh Nair, since he comes with a thought process of modernism coming into traditional. Sir, would you like to take this as how modernism is inculcated and cultivated? This tradition has helped poets, writers, and aspiring authors to go ahead and take a step ahead.
Thank you, Bhavna. It's indeed a pleasure looking at this very, very significant but a little uneasy take on traditional literature and modern literature. Um, so I'm of the opinion, maybe after teaching English literature for nearly 32 years, I still struggle to define what is traditionalism and what is modernism in literature. For the simple fact that when you look at, if we mean traditional literature to be the classical canonical literature represented by Shakespeare, Milton, Wordsworth, Dickens, and so on, I still find a lot of modern elements in those writings as well. So somehow I feel that literature, um, when we read literature, when we read canonical literature, or when we read the so-called traditional classical literature, what matters is what we take away from that. Basically, if something is written in, say, for example, Shakespeare wrote in 16th century, and when that text comes to us, maybe something like the Hamlet or Macbeth or King Lear comes to us in 21st century, what happens is a kind of a cultural exchange, because Shakespeare does give something to us, and we as 21st century readers located in, say, for example, in India, in the so-called post-colonial situation, we are also adding meaning to the text. So for me, reading literature, whether it is traditional or modern, it's all about making meaning. Like, and process of making meaning changes over a period of time. And added to that is the idea that I believe that some of the great ideas are organized around literature. Like, say, for example, even in in the early days of Royal Society, the works like such as optics, a lot of works of Newton, and even the scientists of those eras were written in literature. They were written in poetry and not in prose. Something to keep in mind. So what they were trying to do was actually they were trying to take a kind of leverage of the popularity of art and then propagate science through art. Now, today things have changed, and even when we talk about modern literature, and I believe that the term also has undergone a lot of changes. Now, we are probably in an era which is called postmodern era, or even postmodern era, where identity politics is more important than probably the literary merit. So it's all about space clearing. The readers and writers first create space, and then upon that space they start writing and they start discussing. And even if you are a reader and if you are a teacher and if you are an academician, and your perspective depends upon the space and identity on which you start working around. So that's my initial remark on what I understand as traditional literature and modern literature. Over to you, Bhavna.
Am I audible enough?
Yeah, now you are.
Great. So uh, that was Dr. Nair talking about how modernism and how impactful it is. Now, can we have Mr. Vakankar speak on the same thing? Like, what exactly is your take on how important is this? Mr. Vakankar, you there? Ashish?
Yeah, I had to unmute myself.
Good
Thank you
afternoon.
very much
Welcome
for
to the panel.
inviting me to this online Lit Fest. And thanks, Bhavna, for the kind introduction. It's always a treat to listen to Professor Marathe and the wide experience and how he blends science, maths, engineering, and the meaning of the word Sahitya, the way he went about.
Exactly.
Really, for a moment, I did not realize that I was also supposed to speak after this. So I was living in that world. That's why you found me take some time to come on. You have to remind me, unmute yourself. Being an avid reader myself, I firmly believe now, being in the financial services side, I'm going to give a perspective on what role literature and what role art or any other form has in our mission. We are all in a mission over here in this country to create Viksit Bharat by 2047, which is when we celebrate 100 years of our independence and achieve an economy of, say, $40 trillion, which is almost 10 times of what it is today. Now, this journey is simply impossible without instilling self-pride and awareness amongst Indians about who we are, what our heritage is, what our history is, the voluminous contributions that our ancestors have made to languages, grammar, art, even food and culinary field, astronomy, medicine, wellness, spirituality. I could just go on and on. For it, it is only possible. This change, this journey to become a Vishwaguru as Viksit Bharat will also, force the responsibility on us. It is possible only when a sense of purpose, mission, pride to get together, and the journey turns from, actually, rather than doing a job, I'm doing a hobby. Now this transition that will take place only when you have some amount of self-awareness and self-pride in who we are. I'll just elaborate on this further. We recently had a debate on work-life balance. And now, while work-life balance is perfect to have, but without the sacrifices of a few generations, great societies and great nations can never be built. And willingness to make this sacrifice comes easily when you have national pride and basically you know where you're coming from, who you are. Once a friend's a child asked me, living in California, she asked me, uncle, was India really a rich civilization once? My answer to that was, well, Christopher Columbus set out to sail and landed in America. Similarly, for Vasco da Gama, he set out to sail, sailing through rough seas for thousands of miles. They both were in search of India. What were they searching for? A rich civilization, a prosperous civilization, a flourishing civilization, or were they searching for poverty? Obviously not. Another example, the US national anthem itself was written on a ship called HMS Minden, which was built on the dockyards of Mumbai. So we were a seafaring nation. We were at all times a rich trading nation. We were a rich civilization. I will extend this further. Look at the literary work of some of our great authors. I mean, our contributions to grammar, our contributions to art. Even for that matter, the other day when we were discussing, I spoke about the Gujarati thali and the Rajasthani thali. Now that's a 9-course, 7-course meal packed into one. All these things again point only to one thing, that we were for a longish period a very rich civilization. Now that part has somehow got missed. Let us take a look at the recent book written by William Dalrymple. Now, when I was growing up, we used to joke, the India's contribution to maths was zero. So zero means actually the digit zero is what India contributed to the field of mathematics is. But actually, William Dalrymple now in his book, The Golden Road, writes and explains what have been the voluminous contributions of India. He also goes on to say not just zero, but from 0 to 9, all the digits, the entire mathematics came from this country. Now, this is a huge responsibility, in my opinion, on the people coming from the world of academia, authors, writers. Literature is nothing but another way of bringing this part of the country, this rich contribution, the rich heritage of this country in front of the people. The moment it is done, there will be an awakening, there will be an element of self-pride, and people will get into a mission mode. Without mission mode, we are not achieving Vikasit Bharat. Let me just give an example over here. There is this saying that till the time the lion learns to speak, the story will always be of the hunter. There is also we all grew up reading Rudyard Kipling, and it was basically Radha that it was that moment of Mowgli meeting Radha that he ultimately realized he was not a wolf, he was not a bear, and he was a human. Years of pushing by or trying to explain by Balu and Bagheera didn't bring that awakening in him that he was actually a human. That Radha moment, actually, what is that Radha moment? That Radha moment is basically taking him from darkness to light, or from lack of knowledge to awareness. This, in my opinion, is the huge responsibility of amongst that rests on the shoulders of book writers, lit fests, school authors, readers, to bring this out in front of the particularly the youth, so that ultimately we all get together in a mission mode. We help India becoming a Viksit Bharat, a rich and prosperous economy of $40 trillion that we all aim to. Bhavna, I'll stop here.
What I wanted to know was from Ms. Shilpi. You have done analysis on a particular mental issue, and being the first person to have come out with a book on dyslexia in India, where did that journey begin, and what prompted for you to start writing about mental disorders in the first place? Why was it the need of the hour to discuss about that?
Hi, very good morning to everyone. And first of all, thank you so much for giving me the opportunity to be a part of such a mindful discussion today. Just today's Sunday, so there will be a lot of background sounds. So quite kindly, please excuse me for that. But yeah, it's such a good discussion happening, and apart from Google and AI, it is such kind of literary discussions can also give us insightful knowledge, and it's not just we have to depend on AI and Google to get some knowledge, but our experience also counts. And yeah, Anushri, you were asking me about my journey of this book, uh, Innocent Wing, which has won the national book record also by India Book of Records. It is not a mental disorder, but it is a disability in children, and not everybody is same. And NEP 2020 also said that it's equity and not equality. Not every child is same, so that we cannot give everybody equal opportunities, everybody equal facilities, which is not sufficient for each and every child to grow, as every child is not same. So this book is about a child who has dyslexia. As you have seen the movie Tare Zameen Par, the child Darshil Safari has the issue of learning difficulty. So these children are such that even they are growing with age, but they cannot read and write like we do. But that doesn't mean that they don't want to read or they don't have the capacity to read. But the way they learn is different. And being a mother of a dyslexic child, my journey began from there. And then I understood what kind of difficulties as a parent I have went through and what my child was going through. Then there are ways from by doing those therapies you can recover from those issues. Now my child is in 11th grade and he secured 89% in grade 10th. He also has cleared spell b. It is it is not easy for a dyslexic child to clear spell b, which is an English exam. He cleared all the levels. So nothing is impossible if you start and if you accept and being aware of the problem. If you are aware of the problem and if you accept the problem, half of the battle is already done. And when I have cleared my issues, I thought that I should enter into the life of other parents and I should also sort the issues of other children also, because it is not one or two. Dyslexia is not a very rare issue which you will see in the country or abroad, but it is very common. And if you don't accept and parent, if the parent is not aware of the issue, it can ruin the life of a child. Now my child wants to be an engineer, but if I wasn't aware and I did not have accepted the issue, my child would have landed in something like which he didn't want to do but had to do. He had no other choice. And same is the case with other children. If you take the step as early as possible, you can sort the life of the child. And that was the idea behind writing this book.
And that's where great minds do things differently, as Mr. Marathe re-quoted. Now, the point is, with Shilpi coming in, you know what I feel, there's a quote of Kate T. Camelio. She's a writer for kids and she writes books and all, right? She says that reading should not be presented to children as a core or a duty. It should be gifted. It should be, it should be offered as a gift to the child. Mr. Marathe very beautifully said that, forced reading jo hota hai, forced learning jo hota hai, that पॉसिबली जो नहीं करना है वही, या जो करना है जब हम फोर्स करने लगते हैं किसी को, तो उससे इंसान दूर भागने लगता है. And that's where Shilpi also brings in a lot of that. What was that word, Shilpi, that you used the other day? I am forgetting that word. I had written it, but
It's not dyslexia, but it is dysthesia.
It's not dyslexia. It is dysthesia. The child, वो तजिंदर सर, वो गीली मिट्टी जैसे होते हैं बच्चे. उसको जिस तरह से आप पॉटरी पे डालो एंड जिस तरह से आप उन्हें सस्टेन करना चाहो, जिस तरह से वो उस तरह से बन जाते हैं. Speaking on that, sustainability is something very new, and not new actually, it is very age old thing that we should be aware of. And आशीष जी ने बहुत अच्छे से बताया है, और जब भी बात करो तो he always swears on be self aware. How will you be self aware? Read, because books are something, Dr. Nair, books are something, you being a professor, books are something that has always been, मम्मी पापा ने हमेशा कहा books are your best friends, companion. रोना है किताब पढ़ लो, हंसना है किताब पढ़ लो, अच्छा करना है किताब पढ़ लो, पढ़ोगे लिखोगे बनोगे नवाब. With time it all got disrupted. The paradigm shifted. पढ़ोगे लिखोगे बनोगे खराब, खेलोगे कूदोगे बनोगे नवाब came into picture. But nobody understood कि खेलना कूदना में भी जब एक्सपर्ट बनना हो तो उसके बारे में भी पढ़ाई करना बहुत जरूरी है. क्रिकेट का पिच कितने यार्ड का है, कितने ग्राउंड कितने यार्ड का है, ये सब जानना थ्योरी से ही पता चलता है. डॉक्टर रावल की तरफ मुड़ूंगी. एंड डॉक्टर रावल, आई वुड लाइक टू अंडरस्टैंड. वो कहते हैं ना, गालिब से गुलजार तक, एलिया से तहजीब हाफी तक. चूंकि आप उर्दू से आते हैं, हम शेर व शायरी के इस मुकाम पर हैं जहां बड़े शौक से हम शेर कहते हैं और सुनते हैं कि तुमसे मिलने का मन कर रहा है, बहुत दिन हो गए हैं तुमसे मिले हुए, तुमसे मिलने का मन कर रहा है. और कहीं गालिब ने कभी कहा था कि यही गलती उम्र भर, माफी चाहूंगी अगर मैं इधर उधर कर दूं, कि उम्र भर गालिब यही गलती करता रहा, धूल चेहरे पे थी, साफ आईना करता रहा. वहां पे वो जो ट्रेडिशनल राइटिंग थी, वो जब आई मॉडर्न राइटिंग में, तो हम खुद को पहचानने के लिए अलग अलग तरीके के शेर पढ़ने लगे. डॉक्टर रावल, हाउ डू यू सी modern writing? And then we would proceed to Mr. Talwar, that modern writing and children. How has he got into that paradigm shift? I would like Rajinder साहब आप बताएं, क्योंकि Urdu celebrated है, poetry, prose, and everything is changing so rapidly that reading has become very. अब तो आते जाते शेर हो जाते हैं. मतलब आज मैंने एक शेर कहा है. Nobody understand how critical it is when you say कि शेर कहा है. इस बात पे जरा रोशनी डालें.
बहुत खूब. Thank you very much, Bhavna, for the background, for being a good host, and I'm so happy to be here in Antimatter. उर्दू की बात जब भी होती है तो उर्दू में सबसे पहले बात दिमाग में आती है शेर, उर्दू की शायरी, उर्दू की गज़ल, जो बहुत मकबूल है और जिसने हमें मुझे लगता है हिंदुस्तान की तहजीब को जिंदा रखा है. इट्स अ ग्रेट कंटिन्यूड ट्रेडिशन ऑफ 1000 ईयर्स. और जैसा किसी ने कहा, दाग ने कहा है, उर्दू है जिसका नाम हम ही जानते हैं दाग, हिंदुस्तान में धूम हमारी ज़बां की है. सिर्फ हिंदुस्तान में नहीं, पूरी दुनिया में धूम है इस जबान की. एंड आई एम अ स्टूडेंट ऑफ लिटरेचर ऑफ डिफरेंट लैंग्वेजेस. आई बीइंग अ पॉलीग्लॉट who reads who can understand and speak 8 languages. When it comes to poetry, I find no match for Urdu poetry. Urdu is like the epitome of poetry, I would say, the best that you can think of. और उर्दू की ट्रेडिशंस को उर्दू ने हमारी जबान को बनाया है, उसका इर्तिका किया है, उसका विकास किया है, उसको आगे बढ़ाया है. तो हिंदी और हमारी तहजीब, हमारी जबान, हमारा ट्रेडिशन, हमारा कल्चर, दे ओ अ लॉट टू उर्दू लैंग्वेज एंड टू उर्दू पोएट्री. कहते हैं ना कि वो उर्दू का मुसाफिर है, यही पहचान है उसकी, जिधर से भी गुजरता है सलीका छोड़ जाता है. तो उर्दू ने हमें वो सलीका सिखाया है. इट्स अ ट्रेजर ट्रोव ऑफ इमोशनल डेप्थ, एस्थेटिक ब्यूटी एंड प्रोफाउंड विजडम. फ्रॉम द रोमांटिक पोइट्री ऑफ मिर्जा गालिब. मिर्जा गालिब का तो खैर सिर्फ रोमांटिक नहीं, मिर्जा गालिब के इतने रूप हैं कि आप एक एक परत उतारते जाएंगे तो आप हैरान रह जाएंगे कितनी परतें उनके अंदर है. So from the romantic poetry of Mirza Ghalib to the revolutionary poetry of Faiz Ahmad Faiz, Urdu has been a medium to express love, even loss of love, rebellion, hope, everything, every possible feeling that you can think of, Urdu comes to your rescue. And the Indian Urdu poets have done a wonderful work in that. Even the prose, Urdu prose, it carries the richness evident in the work of likes of Sadat Hasan Manto and Ismat Chugtai, who have explored societal truth with remarkable clarity and courage. Why Urdu is often talked about, why people discuss Urdu, why Urdu continues to be relevant even in the age where we are moving towards a global uniform kind of language. Why Urdu remains relevant? Urdu remains relevant because of its unique ability to blend Persian elegance, Arabic spirituality, and Indian vibrance, creating a universal appeal that transcends border. Even today, as Mr. Marathe said, modernism era. Even in this modernism era, Urdu poetry and prose serve as a bridge between the past and present, offering insight into human emotions and societal evolution. Urdu literature and regional languages are like our cultural artifacts, but they are more than cultural artifacts. They are living. Urdu is definitely a living language. They're breathing parts of our heritage and identity. We have to understand that in order to make our present and future better, more diversified, and more meaningful, we will have to preserve and revitalize our past. And our past is very well reflected in languages like Urdu. It's so important for us to preserve that. And we are doing a great job. When I come to a later part of the discussion, I'll talk about what we are doing to make sure that Urdu is being preserved, Urdu is being conserved. It's very, very, it's important. And at the same time, we must understand that preservation of languages like Urdu means preservation of a culture. सलीकों से हवाओं में जो खुशबू घोल सकते हैं, अभी
हाँ,
कुछ लोग बाकी हैं जो उर्दू बोल सकते हैं.
क्या
So we
बात.
have, yeah. So we have some people, which is a ray of hope. People who speak Urdu, who will continue to speak Urdu, who will continue to help Urdu grow. So I will stop here and wait for the next
Great.
round.
Thank you, Mr. Raval. Now, why, where we saw how Urdu is, important, या दिल के करीब एक भाषा है. रावल साहब ने बहुत अच्छी बात कही कि भाषा को कंजर्व करना है. जब हम किसी चीज को कंजर्व करते हैं तो डर इस बात का है कि कहीं ये खो ना जाए. ट्रेडिशन को कंजर्व करना है. ट्रेडिशन को कंजर्व करना है मतलब ट्रेडिशन को कंजर्व करके उसके साथ उसकी अच्छी चीजें लेकर आगे बढ़ना है, जिसमें तलवार साहब काफी माहिर है. तलवार साहब कनेक्ट्स हिस्टोरिकल सस्टेनेबिलिटी टू द किड्स, और वो मिट्टी को शेप करना कर रहे हैं थ्रू हिज लिटरेरी वर्क, जो शायद आज की सबसे बड़ी जरूरत है. Talwar Sahab, I would like you to enlighten your thoughts, share your thoughts on how, tradition and modern writing, or, modern ways of understanding things, will you be connecting your thoughts on?
Thank you so much, Bhavna. Thanks. I think that's a pretty interesting question. I'd like to just bring in a caveat before I go on. Personally, I'm not a very big fan of, slotting either people or concepts into neat little boxes like traditional and or conservative and modernism or postmodernism, or like the good doctor said, postmodernism.
True that.
I'm an untrained writer. I'm a storyteller. I love telling stories, and I believe there are certain things which need to be communicated to future generations, because, like Ashish said, if we need to get to Viksit Bharat by 2047, and it's a pretty ambitious plan that we're looking to get at. The only way we can get there is if our children, who are tomorrow's leaders and tomorrow's citizens, actually believe in this.
Correct.
Now, how do you get them? How do you get them to get there? I think no matter what your style is, whether it's traditional, whether it's modern, whether it's postmodern, what really works with readers or with listeners is something which is captivating.
Mm-hmm.
We need to be able to figure out what is the right way to grab and hold on to the attention of our audiences. And I think once you've cracked that, it doesn't matter what genre you are communicating in. It doesn't matter what language you are speaking in. The gentleman before me, Mr. Rawat, if I got his name right, he spoke about the beauty of Urdu as a language. I mean, so Urdu is a language that has emerged as a mix of what was known back in the day as Hindustani and Persian, and like he very eloquently said, excerpts of Arabic, because obviously that is the genetic pool from where a lot of these ideas emerged. Look at languages which predate that. Look at Sanskrit, for instance. There are mind-blowing pieces of work in Sanskrit by poets like Kalidas. There's this gentleman from Kashmir. His name isn't coming top of mind, but he wrote the Raj Tarangini. These are scintillating pieces of work. My point is, your genre, your language is irrelevant. As long as you are able to connect with your audience, things will start making sense. Coming very specific to the kind of work that I work on, that I do, for instance, on sustainability. I realized and this is something which I discovered where I was trying to explain these concepts to my own children when they were much younger, be it sustainability or be it Indian history, and I'll draw the parallel between the two over there. Unfortunately, the way this is communicated in our textbooks is abysmally poor. They're probably the most drab and uninteresting formats in which we're trying to convey some pretty interesting ideas to our kids. And I think they're a telling example of the best way to kill an idea. I figured if these concepts can be presented in the form of stories, which has got a lot of action and drama and humor and emotion, there is no way you can't grab the attention of kids. And thankfully, when we published these books, our belief was vindicated. I'll give you another small instance when Ashish was talking about how we need to be aware of who we are. And that will probably instill a sense of pride in ourselves and help us in get to the goals the nation has set for itself. I'll try and connect that in my own limited way to, let's say, traditional or modern forms of literature. The oldest surviving story or the oldest surviving written form of history is the Mahabharata and the Ramayana. Predating these are the Purans. Predating those are the Vedas. And post the Vedas are the Vedantas. Now, how is it that this literature has survived for so long? Is it because these are, religious canons or doctrines that people need to imbibe? No, that's not the case. It's simply because they're written in a beautiful meter. It's simply survived because the language is eloquent and because everything is presented in the form of a fascinating and captivating story. And stories never die as long as they are said well. So shamelessly copying from there, I figured the best way to get kids to be interested in Indian history is by presenting it to them in the form of stories. And which is what I did with the Colonel Zorro series, where I picked up, researched facets from actual Indian history and brought them out in the form of mystery stories that kids would uh, imbibe on. And I'm very happy to say, as of last week, where our figures have come in, out of 7 books that we've published in the series, 3 have become bestsellers already, which is not really a commentary on how well the books are written. They probably are, or maybe they're not. I think it's more a commentary on the fact that no matter what form of storytelling you do, as long as it is done well, you will have an audience for it.
Absolutely. Now, me being myself a storyteller, I exactly can, you know, uh, uh, resonate with what you're saying. Coming to Dr. Nair, now I am a firm believer that storytelling is something that ये किताब में तो पिक्चर ही नहीं है, ये किताब मेरे काम का नहीं है ना, जब तक कुछ समझ नहीं आए, कुछ दिखे नहीं. Now, that is a very modern way of making things understandable to our coming generation. And Viksit Bharat is something that we all are going forward to, right? Yes, Mr. Ashish, Mr. Vakankar sir, this is what we are heading towards, right? So, Dr. Nair, now that, people have started imbibing that, जैसे आप स्टोरी बता रहे हो, रश्मि रथी पढ़ रहे हो, या आप दिनकर पढ़ रहे हो, उसी दिनकर को जब आप रीस्ट्रक्चर करते हो या री इमेजिन करते हो, तो you put in pictures, you put in visuals so that people can also imbibe, and they're able to use their imagination. Gen Z is very well in imagining, very very well in taking the insights from pictures. Do you agree that this is how traditional writing and tradition can become a language for universal human feeling? It can become a universal language. It can go towards a paradigm shift wherein traditional writing can be rethought, reimagined, and re-gifted to the coming generation to become self-aware, to know who they are. And once Dr. Nair has given his thoughts, we would pivot back to uh, Ashish sir and Shilpi ma'am, and I would like to know their thoughts on this as well. Yes, Dr. Nair.
Yeah, thank you, Bhavna, once again. Yeah, it's a very significant point that you have raised. The whole issue of how to make literature more relevant to the contemporary society and maybe the generation that is coming up. And two of the good examples of that, I would start with a very traditional way of looking at a narrative, where Salman Rushdie, one of the greatest storytellers of India of the contemporary era, had gone on record stating that, very interestingly, that man is a storytelling animal. I repeat that a man is a storytelling animal is what Rushdie says. That along with our social need, that need to tell story is something that would make us human beings. Just as much listening to story, we have a drive to tell stories. So I read about this some a few years back, and it immediately struck me, thinking that many of the great ideas have been organized around stories. For example, some of the scientific principles can also be better explained with the help of a story, because there is a primal connect between human beings and stories. Maybe we look at something like Panchatantra stories, or any of these traditional stories. So we have this connect. Secondly, as you rightly said, that we need to revisit some of our narratives and stories and then render them maybe in a new grammar, maybe in a new style, and in a new semiotic way, in a new signification process, in a new way of putting across our signs. So from visual narrative, sorry, from verbal narratives, probably we need to look at the strength of visual narratives as well. One of the success stories that I remember of recent times, not necessarily about storytelling, but then I was a very avid follower of what was happening on Instagram during the COVID. To my real amazement, in about 2 years of COVID and confinement, COVID induced confinement, there was a particular type of poetry that came up, which could be called as now Instagram poetry. And this Instagram poetry was, as we rightly pointed out, was a blend of visuals and literature and verbal literature. And I was impressed with this because I started considering some of them as a kind of communication of people who were not sure whether they will be surviving the COVID-19 pandemic. So I thought of considering them as a kind of graffiti. They are written on wall, though they are written on virtual wall of Instagram. A graffiti, more than anything else, is a kind of a desperation. It's a last expression that you have, not being sure whether you will be surviving that moment or maybe a few days. So I found some of those poems very, very compelling, discussing the experiences of confinement, isolation, fear, and whole lot of things. And it created in 2 years, you wouldn't believe, it created more than some 3,000 good poems worldwide, reaching out to people through the digital media and establishing a new genre, I would call as Instagram poetry. So yes, so in that respect, I would say that yes, there are means, there are ways, and there are also new media through which literature can be maybe disseminated, propagated. There could be new forms of writing. And another instance is that of graphic novel, I would say. Graphic novels immediately communicate, like apart from the manga books and also a number of graphic novels, like Orijit Sen is a writer in India. These graphic novels have also started re-rendering some of the popular narratives, including even Ramayana and Mahabharata. Probably the current generation may be cut off from the text, may be cut off from the stories, and they could get an entry into the world of Ramayana and Mahabharata through graphic novels. So these are two distinct forms: one as Instagram poetry, and two graphic novels. These are two distinct new genres that I would say, which have effectively made a paradigm shift in the way literature is rendered and literature is read and appreciated in the contemporary era. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Nair. From traditional writing to now the Instagram generation to heading to a graphic, graphic world. I would like to know from right. So Ashish, we'll go to Shilpi first. The lady, what do you think? Because you've dyslexia, dystegia, all these things are coming up, and what do you think? Will this paradigm shift be welcome by our generation, or will we be able to grasp what we're trying to give to the next generation through traditional writing and innovation in modern writing?
Thank you so much, Bhavna. Yeah, that is what I am very much into. Yeah, literature has always been a powerful tool for reflecting society. But as our world becomes more diverse, there's an increasing need for literature to evolve in ways that are more inclusive and accessible to all the readers, no matter what is their caste, creed, or what are their identities or abilities. But everybody should have the opportunity to see themselves in the stories they read. They should be able to relate themselves to the stories they read. And I think that changes coming in the literature now, it should break all the barriers for the diversified needs of the readers, the young readers. To be more accessible, literature must cater to the readers with physical or cognitive challenges.
True.
Formats like Braille or audiobooks or digital text to speech features help make books more accessible to the people who have impairments or learning disabilities. With these disabilities or chronic illness or neurodiversities, there are so many things and number of difficulties a person could face. But these changes in the transformation in the literature strategies or techniques would help all the readers to have access to these stories,
True that.
and they could relate themselves so that all readers could see themselves in the stories. um, it's like Wonder and the Curious Incident of the Dog in the Night. There are some stories which fosters empathy and inclusion in literature. That is what we need today. We should challenge traditional norms in education. The NEP 2020 is one great start, and we should always challenge the traditional norms in education, and we should provide audiobooks, text to speech books where our readers, young readers who have disabilities, would be able to read and relate better to the stories. There are some diverse texts like Hate You Give or More. Students are exposed to a broader range of experiences, and they have we could be more empathetic, and critical thinking is allowed with such kind of changes. The future of inclusive storytelling is, I think, has more it's breaking boundaries, and through digital platforms, collaboration, storytelling, and diverse voices, we have expanded future. If we can break the barriers, just writing a book and producing it for the normal readers, it's
Will not do.
it's breaking the boundaries. I would say that inclusive reading is breaking the boundaries. It's a need of the hour. And you see if you'll see the percentage of increase in dyslexic cases now as they were before has increased because we are more into surfing, more into scrolling the reels, and the child today wants more fast reading. And
They need to be ultra
so
fast.
not only the dyslexic
This
reader, but
generation
I think
is
every reader could relate to this. They want fast reading. The children today want fast reading. The young readers want fast scrolling of the books.
true
So if
that.
you'll give them only textual version, it would be difficult for them to go through that.
Grasp whatever they. With that, with Shilpi's insights on how visual and grasping power, Ashish ji, I would before go ahead with it. Books are mirrors. You only see in them what you already have inside you. Not my quote. Carlos Ruiz said this to be given the credit to the sayers and speakers. So, Ashish ji, you please enlighten the entire panel and everybody there that do we get to know ourselves through avid reading? Do we get nearer to writing? If I want to write something, Maya Angelou said that when I look back, I'm so impressed again with the life-giving power of literature. If I were a young person today trying to gain a sense of myself in the world, I would do that again by reading, just as I did when I was young. Now, Maya stopped talking at the age of 8, but she's a celebrated author. Now, do we get near to ourselves if we get into reading? Are we becoming more self-aware, and are we moving towards writing our thoughts more accurately, penning it down if I am not able to speak it loud? So how does reading and our vast history brings in their experience in exploring ourselves? How are books still best friends?
That's a good question. In fact, I am not an author. I have not written a book. Rather, just written a research paper or research document, which is maybe 550 pages, but that's all. One thing, like Abhishek said some time back, we are a country, a civilization, the most ancient civilization in the world, which has had a tradition of storytelling. If somebody were to pick up Mahabharata and read it carefully, he would find one or of the characters of the many characters over there, and he would relate to him. So the way of communicating, the way of addressing every type of audience and reaching them through stories is something that we have done for generations. And that's one of the reasons why, we have said that Bharat is a Sanatan civilization. Sanatan means progressive. It keeps on evolving and stays with the time rather than fixated in a particular era. So there are multiple ways in which you can reach out to your readers, but the idea is to communicate and instill an element of self-pride. That Radha moment has to take place if we have to move ahead. Books in a simple way. So in my opinion, if somebody has followed, Abhishek spoke about Ved and Vedanta. Now, if somebody has, I've been a student of Ved and Vedanta, we all know one thing. We also that there is this wonderful line by Adi Shankaracharya ji in which he said, "Akasham patitam toyam sagaram pratigacchati." We all start from one crucible and we end up back into the crucible. So like the water evaporates, forms clouds from the sea, ultimately through rivers and through various ways, again, we all merge into the sea. That's the life journey. So we are all, in my opinion, climbing the Mount Everest. We will all meet at the peak of the Mount Everest at different times. We will all be over there again. Now, somebody has written and somebody has described the journey up the Mount Everest. Now, the choice is between following somebody and taking lessons from him and shortening your learning curve and your journey through what the person has written. So what is a book? A book is nothing but an experience a person has left behind for you to smoothen your learning curve, to fasten that journey and to make it more efficient so that you can achieve much more than probably the leader, the writer had done before. In a way, as a civilization, as a way, the entire human race, when I say human race, I also talk of Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam over here. So everybody over here on this planet, we all benefit from it. The book or books are the fantastic way of, making your journey. Somebody has left it behind what he experienced. You just take what is important for you. There are two ways. I keep walking on the road and experience all the challenges, the pitfalls, the potholes, the roughness of the road, the challenges on the road, or else I can follow somebody who's walked on the road and say, you know what, this is the way, this is how you can smoothen. After a certain point, you will have to find out your own road and then write about it so that the traveler behind you can benefit from it. And as a whole, as a society, as a civilization, as a race, as a Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, we move ahead. Books are important. I have been an avid reader myself. I continue to read. There's fantastic things to learn from people who have taken those painstaking efforts to write those volumes. You can read this book, The Golden Road, written by William Dalrymple. Half of the book he has written behind the references various taken from. There is one more book, one should read, and that is Beautiful Tree, written. So you will understand what kind of education system Dharampal ji has written. Has taken so much effort, so much to learn, so much to help your life journey. Ultimately, being again a student of Ved and Vedanta, let me say this, that we come from a Sanatan philosophy wherein this is just one phase of our life. We have had many phases, there will be many others. Ultimately, we will merge. But in that journey, to make it efficient, more fruitful, ideal way in this physical world is to read books and to gain from the knowledge and the experiences of others, other learned people. And some of them are over here on this panel right now.
True. So, with that insights on how paradigm shifted, how tradition and modernism comes, Dr. Rawal, I would like to know one of the challenges that the generation would face when marrying tradition and innovation. What is that one biggest challenge that you think?
Yeah.
And
thank you.
To my other panelists, please do not copy the challenge that Mr. Rawal is going to describe. I would like 5 different challenges coming up to the young aspiring writers and authors and avid readers, that what is the biggest challenge that tradition and modernism will face when they will come together and start marching the road ahead. Yes, Dr. Rawal.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Bhavna. I would start with sharing recent experience in a project that I'm involved in. I'm trying to conserve a language called the Nihali language, which is a language where there are only 1,500 speakers left now. This language belongs to a tiny community that lives pretty close to about 300 kilometers from Nagpur in Jalgaon, Jamod. the language is neither Dravidian nor Indo-European. So you cannot classify it under any of the established classification. The language is a unique language in the sense that it does not it cannot be classified anywhere else. It's a big challenge to conserve the language because there are just 1,500 speakers left. They are aging. The young people in the family have gone migrated to cities for work, and they are now speaking Marathi or Hindi rather than Nihali. So the biggest challenge that I'm finding, we're trying to categorize, we're trying to catalog everything, the script, the language does not have a script. We're trying to catalog the vocabulary, the words, the dictionary words that they use, and there is so much of distortion because of the intermingling with other languages. But there are some old people who are still able to help us, so we are creating a new dictionary for them. And since it does not have a script, we are finding it difficult to actually write the right pronunciation because they speak certain accent which is not spoken by either Marathi speakers or Hindi speakers. So we are trying to find ways in which those can be incorporated. And since it does not have a script, we are using Devanagari script. Devanagari script has its own nuances. The problem is certain sounds cannot be transcribed into Devanagari script. So we're trying to create those sound symbols for those sounds. So now you can understand. So the biggest challenge that I'm finding in this language, and then I would relate to the traditions versus modernism that you're talking about, is to since it does not have a script. If a language does not have a script, it's an oral language. It's a language which has continued through oral tradition. Since it does not have a script, it cannot be written and passed on to the next generation the right way. So that's the biggest challenge with Urdu also now. I'll come to the. So I faced the same problem with Nihali. I had been to Manipur recently for a different mission. It was a peace mission between Kuki and Methi communities, and I was discussing with those tribal. There are hundreds of tribal languages in Northeast, with speakers as few as 1,000 to as many as maybe 200,000. They are also getting lost because they do not have a script. And oral tradition is dying. Young people are moving out to other cities, and they are speaking the language of the region they belong to, or the language which gives them bread and butter. So, which is primarily Hindi and English, perhaps for many of them. So, I think script conservation perhaps happens to be the biggest challenge. Urdu is a language which is close cousin of Hindi, but what can be said in Urdu script, the script that Urdu uses, the Persian version of the script, cannot be said in Devanagari script. And so, so they may be pretty close to each other, but there are certain nuances that cannot be expressed in other script. So I think learning the script. A lot of people claim to know Urdu, but since they do not know the script, they make mistakes. One of my weird hobbies is to listen to the news channels and find out the flaws in Urdu that news reporters are and the news readers are making, and they make big mistakes because they do not have an understanding of the Urdu script. So this is what I think the biggest challenge is to conserve the script first. If you conserve the script, the language would be conserved. If you do not conserve the script, yeah.
So, Dr. Raval, if I'm understanding well, then balancing the authenticity and innovation is one of the biggest challenge. So, moving from balancing the authenticity of a language, be it a tradition, and balancing it with innovation, Mr. Talwar, what do you think is the biggest challenge right now?
Look, there's quite a few of them, honestly, and the least of these challenges is getting kids to want to read. Surprisingly, the challenge is in getting the book in their hands. Like someone said, I think when Ashish was referring to the inaugural speech where he said the best gift you can give to someone, rather than getting kids to or forcing them to read, if we can gift them a book. I think that's one of the bigger challenges. The lady, the educator, when she spoke about how children or readers today are more prone to scrolling rather than reading. Yes, it's easier to do that. It's really more fascinating to do that, but there is very little involvement in doing that. Ashish very beautifully mentioned when someone is reading the Mahabharata or the Ramayana or any fascinating story, it's human tendency. We tend to identify with the main protagonists. Whatever she or he is going through, we tend to compare. Is this what I would have done? Why did she not do this? She could have done that. All of this happens through reading. Is it a challenge to get people to read today? I think if the story is said well enough, it will find its readers.
Mhm.
And then that's a movement that automatically spirals into something much bigger than what one could have anticipated. The problem is not so much with our ability or inability to hold. I beg your pardon. The problem is not so much with the reader moving away from what we believe is the right way of presenting content. I think the problem is with the way that content is being presented today. There are a lot of books that are doing phenomenally well, and there are a lot of books which are not being read at all. Does it mean that reading is dead? No. What it means is that readers are probably a lot more demanding today. I don't think we need to shorten the content. I don't think we need to present an epic like the Mahabharata in whatever 160 characters to really hold the attention of the reader. I don't think I need to present a Colonel Zorro story as a 5-page picture book where through the pictures the entire story is told. That's not the solution. And I don't think that needs to be done either. What we need to do is be very cognizant of the fact that it is the 160 character screen size or the Instagram screen size that we are actually competing with.
True that. Okay.
Our narrative and story has to be compelling enough to get the reader to put that aside and pick this up, because this is something that they would love to continue with.
Mm. So, if I'm summarizing it and understanding well, Mr. Talwar is focusing more on accessibility has become a challenge. How you getting things to be accessible? Content need not to be short enough. Content can be. It has to be fascinating. It has to be accessible. It has to be a language that the person should understand. Right? If I'm
Not entirely, ma'am. I'm sorry. So when
correct,
I'm saying I'm actually referring to the physical accessibility. I'm not
correct.
even saying that language needs to evolve for it to be more contemporary.
Mhm,
Obviously, I think that's a self-evident truth, that needs to happen. That doesn't necessarily imply the dumbing down of the narrative.
mhm.
Quite the contrary, in fact. But I'm talking about the fact that there is so much information and there are so many channels available that I find the biggest challenge we face is in discoverability. Once
Discoverability.
the
Okay,
discovery happens, and I'm talking to
correct.
the physical discoverability of the availability of this piece of content. Once
True
once
that.
that's taken care of, I am yet to come across anyone who said, "Hey, this is trash. Why have you come to me with this piece of content?"
Mhm.
That's not happened yet,
Okay,
and I don't think people are being polite.
true that. So, Dr. Nair, what's your challenge?
Um, yeah, I'll make it very short, and then my point is about the accessibility in terms of not in terms of making the book available. I'm looking at the industry, the publishing industry, and the kind of pricing that is now happening with the books. I'll give you a small instance. The novel, one of the great novels that I've read is The Shadow Lines by Amitav Ghosh. When it was first published by Ravi Dayal, an Indian publisher, the book would cost only 120 rupees. Today, Ravi Dayal has merged with Penguin, and the same book, is costing now 595 rupees. So there are two challenges which are related to this. One, can we democratize the access of books in a third world country like India? That's one. Whether all of us, again, it's about equity in terms of reading, whether the kids or particularly the readers of the younger age, whether they have an access to the books in terms of the pricing, because it's now a part of production, mass production, and also the printing industry is involved. Second is my concern about the library. The physical libraries are vanishing. And some time back, I read that one of the jobs that is going to be redundant in next 10 years is the job of a librarian, because I'm seeing a lot of these physical libraries waning away. For example, British Council Library in Mumbai, American Central Library, they've all gone from the physical space. They've all gone digital. So I feel that a reader, or even a prospective reader, might find it very difficult to access books in terms of the price that is involved. So this for me is one of the major concerns, though partly this can be addressed with the help of digital libraries. But I don't know when we are talking about small towns in India, whether they have that access. So even if we go buying books on Flipkart or even Amazon, look at the price. This is truly astronomical in terms of what
I,
it used to be published by Rupa Publication or maybe Ravi
I
Dayal
agree.
of this. So that's something that I would like to put in
Yes,
perspective.
Abhishek, you have a word to say.
Thank you so much for allowing me to speak out of turn. Dr. Nair said something very valuable. So I'll just share an insight. Since we're, Wiplo World is also a publisher. We're a boutique publisher. We publish our own books. So the challenge with the pricing of books is manifold. One is the fact that the sheer cost of paper is astronomical, and I'll not bore you with all of that. Look, the fact remains that the only way to bring the price or the cost of a book down is if we print it in massive numbers. And the only way a book can be printed in massive numbers is if one is confident that there is going to be a market for it. So it's a bit of a catch-22, or it's a chicken and egg theory. What do you do first? Do you first print a couple of 100,000 copies of the book, bring the price down drastically, and hope that it will sell, and run the risk of being straddled with stocks that you can't get rid of? Or do you launch it in smaller numbers at a higher price, build a market, and then move on? That's a conundrum, and there are a lot of other factors. Look at real estate today. If a book has to be sold, let's say at Kitab Khana, which is in South Mumbai, it's very expensive, astronomically priced real estate. So obviously they need their margins, and it just all adds up. I'm not so sure if that's the way to go. Probably ebooks is one solution.
I'm happy somebody brought this up. क्यों आशीष जी है ना, हम जिस दौर में हैं, जिस राजनीतिक दौर में हैं, जिस विकास के पथ पर हम सब जो हैं, पैसा चैलेंज नहीं हो ऐसा तो हो ही नहीं सकता. ऐसी कोई फील्ड नहीं बची जहां पे money does not become a challenge for all of us. And with that, हम आएंगे, दौर पे भी आएंगे जब किताबें खरीदनी नहीं पड़ेंगी, जब किताबों को पढ़ने के लिए किसी दुकान में नहीं, किसी पाठशाला या किसी विद्यालय में जाना ज्यादा मुनासिब समझा आएगा. वो भी एक दौर आएगा. बट फिलहाल तो आशीष जी आपके लिए क्या चैलेंज है? एंड शिल्पी, प्लीज मेक योर चैलेंज रेडी. वी आर मूविंग टुवर्ड्स द एंड ऑफ दिस डिस्कशन. सो आशीष जी,
I will just point out a couple of challenges that I have seen in my own household when we spoke about we run a museum in Ujjain, which was started by Padma Shri Dr. Vishnu Sridhar Wakankar, and of course his older brother Lipikar Lakshman Sridhar Wakankar, who basically was responsible for putting the Devanagari script on the computer keyboard, and he was pioneering work in bringing out the world's first script, which is the Maheshwari script. Now, during this period when they were doing this work, I mean, including the discovery of Bhimbetka caves, which have paintings in the caves of which date back to 10,000, 20,000 years old, and which is a UNESCO World Heritage Site. Now, during this entire period, the amount of research that they had to do. I'll just give another example. He was instrumental in working on finding the Saraswati River and its path. Now he walked right through from the Himalayas right up to Gujarat to find out the flow of Saraswati River. Now these are challenging times. An author, a writer, a researcher goes through. So my point over here is that be ready to go through these challenges, but do it with a feeling of national contribution that you are making. And when you are doing this, you will have certain element of pushback. I might use the word even backlash that you get. Be ready for that as well. At the end of the day, what the role is and what the duty is to bring out what are the facts, what's the truth over here, and the best way to do it is to do thorough research. Be ready for it. When you are going through, yes, there are challenges. Real estate is one of the hugest, one of the biggest challenges that we have in this country. Everybody says, oh, the price of the house and the real estate is going up. That's the worst thing you should be happy about, because that is putting cost on everything else in this country. Inflation happens because of that. So real estate is nothing to celebrate about. But given all these challenges that are there, perseverance is more important. It's a difficult journey. But at the as somebody said, ये सफर बहुत है कठिन मगर ना उदास हो मेरे हम सफर नहीं रहने वाली ये मुश्किल है क्योंकि अगले मोड़ पे है मंजिलें. With this feeling in mind, people will have to overcome, and I've seen these challenges in my own house. When I have seen Dr. Wakankar, Sridhar Wakankar and Lakshman Sridhar Wakankar, both accomplished in their own fields, both highly qualified, yet they dedicated their entire lives to the national service, and the challenges and the difficulties they went through, and the financial troubles that they had, but they kept on. And at the end of the day, today, despite they are not there, they are still remembered for their pioneering work. And today you have a situation wherein a national sanctuary, an 2000 hectare spread national sanctuary, a national park in Madhya Pradesh has been named after him. So yes, there will be these short-term challenges, but I think one will have to stick to them.
Great. And one more time, I'll take this opportunity to congratulate all of us for this achievement. One person does, and we all feel proud about that. That is how the community is building up. Shilpi, one word of challenge and one word of advice to the aspiring authors.
Okay, thank you so much. We heard so many challenges. Rahulji telling about losing regional languages. Then we spoke about publishing issues, challenges in publishing, the monetary issues. But apart from that, there is one challenge. What my readers deal is the accessibility of the literature and also the cultural sensitivity, like blending cultural stories, traditional stories into new innovative forms. There is a risk of appropriation and misinterpretation. So innovation should be done in a way that that the writer, I would say that literary soldiers, we all are literary soldiers, and have the we have the duty of giving our shoulders to take the responsibility that if we are using innovative strategies, innovative technologies, we should honor the cultural roots that tribalizes, and we should not distort them. So the cultural sensitivity should always be there, whether we are innovating the ways of presenting the stories in different forms, but the cultural sensitivity should not be lost. We should always be taking care of traditional values. And another challenge is my readers who are learning, who faces and difficulties. They definitely want technologies to be used and the ways so that the books or the works should reach them and they could associate themselves with the story, because we always imagine that the protagonist would be a smart or handsome or intelligent who is rich, but not protagonist. It should change. It could be person, blind person, a blind man of Hyderabad, like our Shrikant Bola, or somebody who cannot read or write, but is a protagonist. How it's more realistic. The character should be more realistic, so that these are few challenges will be there at every step as we move ahead. And the last question you asked, my advice to the new reader. Am I audible?
Can't hear you. And
we
lost.
You can't hear me.
Yes, now I can.
So should I repeat whatever I said?
No, just advice. From advice, we lost you.
Do I need to repeat?
No, advice.
Okay, then my advice to the new readers is keep writing. Yeah. My advice is keep writing. Don't stop writing. Writing is a skill, and being a literary soldier, you should write every day. Small bit should be written every day. It's not like you will write today I will write, I am free, so I'll write. No, you should write every day.
Flowing like a river.
Should be written, and embrace your unique voice.
True that.
Embrace your unique voice. Every voice is unique. And what Ravalji said, that we should save our regional language. So write in your regional languages.
Conserve your
Don't
language.
Copy Urdu or Devanagari script.
Don't copy. Conserve your language. Be affordably available to everybody. Be sustainable in your writing and be self-aware. That's what I take today from the panel discussion. All of these challenges, all of these, everybody, all of us, whoever, we have an audience of around 85 people. active in this direction, in this panel discussion. The discussion was amongst Urdu poet, amongst professors from colleges, and authors, and Vakankar sir, Talwar sahab, Moda ji, Nair ji. Anushri, thank you so much for bringing in antimatter and giving me the opportunity to learn so much and grasp so many things from all of us here. And I'm very sure that the day is enthralled with events and everything. Antimatter, way to go. And I personally thank Mr. Vakankar, Mr. Talwar, Ms. Moda, Mr. Nair, Dr. Nair, and Dr. Raval to grace this event. I don't know how many of us are going to go ahead and be an avid reader tomorrow, but I'm very sure that one day at a time, 1 minute at a day, and just 1 second in a minute, if you just take a look at the book and just praise the writer, that somebody has taken an effort to bring something valuable to you, that might be the change that you might bring to the society. There are trusts like NBT, there are publishers like Biplab, there are professors like Dr. Nair, and there are educationists like Moda who can go ahead and help you if you need any kind of help in any kind of realm of the life. Literature has always been the base of life, and it will always be. This is Bhavna taking off from all of you. Tejal, the stage is all yours. Hope I have been doing justice to this panel discussion. You've been a great host. Anushri, thank you so much. Thank you, everyone, for giving me this opportunity to host you all. This is me signing off.